Welcome back to another episode of the Patio Pondering Podcast. You know, agriculture is complex, whether we're talking about biology or finances, and particularly when we're talking about geopolitical with what happened in Iran the last few days. But around here, we're trying to provide some clear thinking to that complex agriculture. And today's guest should bring us a little bit of clarity to what's going on in ag markets. Today, I have Ryan Moe from StoneX via Iowa State University. So my friends that want to hear Iowa State content, we got another one coming to you today.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, I really like talking to Ryan. We're on a group together, and the thing that really sticks out about Ryan, he's not afraid to share his opinions, and I would consider him a contrarian in a lot of ideas. So welcome to the patio, Ryan.
Hey, nice to be here. It's I'm thinking your patio is probably nicer than the one we have here in Minnesota, where it's still plenty of winter left. So you guys are kind of rounding third on winter here, aren't you?
Yeah, we are, and we're supposed to get a lot of rain, so we're going to stay in the Terra level executive suite as we record this and not sit on a patio.
Perfect.
Well, Ryan, as I've grown to know you and listen to you both on our Business of Ag Success Group and your guests with different podcasters and traders, at what point in your career or your education did you become convinced that marketing and maybe risk management might matter more than just raising the crop or raising the livestock?
That's definitely an evolution.
Mm-hmm.
When I started in this business, or when I wanted to be a trader or commodities broker, started when I was in high school. So I graduated from high school in 1999. It was the peak of the dot-com bubble. And we did a market competition, like a trading competition.
Mm-hmm.
And the first stock I picked was this little book company that I read about on like the third page of the Wall Street Journal. This first time I'd seen the Wall Street Journal was a junior in high school. And I picked this little book company called Amazon.
Oh, geez.
And I just bought it because it sounded neat.
Mm-hmm.
And the market went up. And I won the trading competition, around, I beat out, everybody else in Gowrie, Iowa on that. And at that point, I was just convinced that I knew everything about finance, and it was, straight to Wall Street for me. I went to Iowa State and then realized that, Solomon Smith Barney and Goldman Sachs weren't recruiting out of Iowa State at the time. So I was like, I'll take the long way to get there.
There you go.
And I'm still working my way to get there. But when I started to recognize that the management of the risk was more important than almost every other attribute of it, was when I went into ag, then I went into energy, and I started to, we started trading energy in late 2004, early 2005, because we didn't have enough experience to do any good to the grain industry that was already hyper mature. And so another brilliant 24-year-old guy and I started off together, and we just started taking what we learned in the corn and soybean business and took it to the energy space. And truthfully, looking back on it now, I didn't have any idea what I was doing, but Jim did. And we started going to corporate America and talking about their energy budgets. So you'd walk into a place like Best Buy headquarters or Sears headquarters or TJ Maxx headquarters, any retailer along the strip malls there, and telling them that, look, your diesel fuel budgets could be a potential problem for you if you don't apply these certain strategies that every farmer in America knows their way around. And you'd talk to people from the fanciest colleges in the country and people with the biggest, fanciest degrees you've ever seen. They had no idea what the hell hedging was. And so we started saying that we would consult and advise them on these transactions and how they could go ahead and, hedge their diesel fuel risk. And Then Hurricane Katrina hits, and then Hurricane Rita hits. Crude oil and diesel fuel just take off.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, all those people that we'd been talking to in late 04, early 05, then they became subscribers in January of 2006 because we'd gotten lucky. Not lucky. We had been hitting a message around utilization of option strategies and just things to maximize what their diesel and natural gas exposure was going to be to their corporate budgets. And that was when I recognized that risk management was a very, very real thing. At that point, the only entity that was publicly talking about risk management was Southwest Airlines, because they had bought crude early, or they bought a tranche of jet fuel early, and they were able to go ahead and win price wars on airline tickets back in the early 2000s. So that was my introduction when it really mattered. About 25 years old.
25 years old, and it was in corporate America, not on the farm in Gowrie, Iowa.
No, it's still no, and that was where it really hit home, because on the ag side there was just so much other stuff, and that agricultural industry in the risk management side of things was so much more evolved than energy. It was very difficult for somebody who's 25 years old to go out and tell somebody that's got 25 years of trading in the grain space something new. And so therefore we went into what was pretty much virgin territory at that point, and that was the energy space.
But you were talking to people that had been through prestigious business schools, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was the fun part. Well, the funny part was, when I would call, so Jim and I went and we just did it the old fashioned way, where we would cold call people. We're sitting there in an office about the size of a broom closet in Indianapolis, and we were just running around making cold calls to basically the CFO or a treasurer of a retailer. And Jim would get calls back, and Ryan would not. And we started looking at it, and it was, well, how many Ryans do you know that are 5 years older than me? I'm 45 now, or 5 years younger than me. Not many. It's one of those names that's pretty well channeled into a certain age category. Yet Jim sounded older. And so Jim would get all these calls back. Yeah, it sounds kind of interesting. Fly on out and come see us. And then 2 24-year-old kids would walk in the room, and his treasurer would be like, who the fuck are these kids? But we were, talking about the things that we've talked about in the grain industry for years. And they're like, that's actually pretty practical. It's not like earth shattering, because at that point, energy markets weren't moving around a lot. But they were like, they're not wrong, but we didn't close a lot of business until Katrina and Rita hit. Then that's when stuff really started to pick up on the risk management side.
As you started talking about the oil and the corporate world, we in ag are exposed to hedging and options in the futures market every day.
Every day.
And it doesn't matter if you're in animal science or agronomy on the south side of State Street at Purdue, somehow ag markets come into it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're reticent as producers to capitalize on them as much as we should, right?
I mean, the answer to that is so complicated because of the way that markets tend to trend together. Mm-hmm. There's some players that have never exercised a risk management strategy ever, and that's because they have not needed to, because the price of the cost of goods sold essentially trended with the price of the outputs. I mean, there's just kind of a margin, and then if people focused on efficiency, they wouldn't need risk management because their mission was to essentially go bankrupt slower than their neighbor, and then be able to acquire that business based upon being just more efficient and more cost effective. That's why you see so many ag companies shaving out cost, shaving out any little itty bitty bit of cost that they possibly can, because their goal in the last 50 years has proven it to be it's not a terrible way to run a business, but they, from a producer or the end user side, if they can maintain hyperscale efficiency, they can typically outlast their competitor. So you see less risk management. And I think we still say probably 80% of farmers are not, and this is on the corn and soybean side, are not utilizing a risk management program and a risk management strategy. And that's probably true. And then if there's 10% that have a futures account, 5% of them are using it the right way. It's a really capital intensive business. The banker has to really understand it. So from the producer side of stuff, yeah. Now every single grain elevator, every single commercial enterprise, their basis and spreads, just good old fashioned ham and egg, like risk management strategy. And that's a big portion of their business, right? But the farmer producer, I think we'd be really surprised how few of them are actually out there executing good, sound, solid risk management policies. Now, I will say if you're a farmer in north central Iowa, which is where I grew up, and you're using your futures account and you're trading rough rice with it, that's not risk management. That's using your grandpa's land to go ahead and open up a spec account. It's two completely different types of things. So
you turned in that dirty bastard from the Chicago speculating on rough rice.
Oh yeah, that's all his fault. But then some flashy broker calls you up with an idea to go ahead and start trading silver futures, and all of a sudden that sounds like a good idea. But yeah, trading silver is not how you that's not how you manage risk in your farm. So I'm much more boring than a lot of those fun direct to farmer brokers that want to call up and trade with big dogs.
Yeah. And it's funny that we're talking about silver, because I remember being with the neighbors when I lived in Iowa, talking to Mary Farley. So Mary Farley was in her 70s. She was the matriarch of the family. And this was 2005-ish. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about the silver that she had. And she had bought silver so many years ago. And I'm thinking, you barely forward contract, but you got silver because it was going to make you so much money.
Well, yeah, and it never did until a couple of weeks ago.
It traded like this.
Right? Yeah, and then, so this is where those of us in the grain trading space, we're not laughing at these people, but they are getting a taste of the reality that we live in the grain industry every day, which is these people are getting a nice little spoonful of basis because, silver's trading at whatever it's trading at, but then they go and sell the silver that they've been hanging on to for decades. And they're only going to get about 60% of what the, board and the Wall Street Journal are telling them that their silver is worth. Well, that's basis. The thing about a commodity is it's only worth what the buyer is willing to pay for it. If the buyer isn't willing to pay you exactly what the board is at, then that ain't what that product is worth. So, yeah, so the silver thing is, as we're watching this whole thing progress, and it's kind of a scary thing, because this isn't that much different than when crude oil went to $147 in 2008. Maybe my scars are deep enough from that's why I'm not, falling all over myself to go buy me a bunch of silver.
Yeah, because it's going to turn.
I don't know. It feels the same, and it didn't feel the same way going out as it did coming in 2008 when I went through it the first time.
So as we're talking about those producers, whether it's your dad or me or anybody that raises commodity crops, and we could throw in livestock in that one too, it seems to me that there's two things that stick out where people are afraid to use it. First, mentally, you have to choose the right direction. Like if I buy a put that tells me I think the price is going to turn, and if it doesn't turn, then I wasted the money on the put. even though the math says you made money because the crop went up. And I think the other thing is there's a disconnect between your hedge account and your checking account. The hedge account either went up or down, and the checking account does this, and we don't mix those two. Would that be fair?
Well, the CBOT, so, I always kind of look at it as, if there's a bin out there with 100,000 bushels of corn in it, and price of that corn today is $4.45, right? There's $445,000 sitting out there. So if the board goes down, to 440, from 445 to 435, there's a loss of $10,000 there. But now if they owned that many futures contracts and that price went down $10,000, it's the same, but it's different, right? So there's that mindset there. Now, and the thing about risk management is that there's no such thing as a good risk management if you don't know what your cost of production is anyway. Right? And so this is where we don't ever want to sit there and most good risk management plans are built backwards. Everybody sits there and looks at, you're at 445 spot forward today. What do we got to do looking forward? No, we got to start backwards with, okay, what's your cost of production? How many bushels did you produce? How much, what's your yield? Yada, yada. And then once we start backwards, once we start at the end and then work backwards, you start to recognize that risk management is incredibly boring.
Yeah.
And once it's incredibly boring, then you can start to manage it. And then once you've taken the emotion out of it, because if you look at that, back to that bin of corn, and if you're just out there hoping that it goes to $5 so that you can say you got $500,000 sitting in that grain bin, that's not a strategy. Hope is not a plan. Like, is 500,000 a good deal? I don't know. Because if you're able to, have your cost of production is down there around 380, you got 445 in there, that's a win. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's where it's like that's where all this stuff, it starts backwards. And you'll have a lot of people, and this is a big problem in the industry, is when they get that question asked, is what's a good risk management plan, or what's the right strategy? And then somebody just says, well, it depends. Well, that's a word that's no longer allowed to be used around me anymore. Cause I'll flat out, I don't give a shit who you are. If you say it depends and you're the CEO of United Healthcare, I'll be just like, well, it depends are adult diapers, not an answer. And so, when somebody comes up and says it depends, that's the invitation to go ahead and dig deeper. If you just keep digging deeper and then whying yourself to death, why do you want corn to go up $10? Or why do you want corn to go up 10 cents? Why won't you buy the put option to protect that? Why won't you go up to 95% on your crop insurance? Why won't you, if you just why this whole thing to death, you come up with a pretty sound risk management plan. And then that's where the foundation of it comes from, is you've gone through your operation and you've actually looked at it from a perspective of, this is why this works, or this is why it doesn't work. And that then gets to be the foundation of your risk management plan. And once you've got that foundation set, then you start to recognize that the emotion is largely sucked out of it. And that's, if you got a great risk management plan when you kind of don't care about what the market's doing. And that's what we did with the energy side of things. That's what folks that are successful on farm, that's what successful, portfolio managers, successful commercial grain operators. You find a lot of them that they're not emotionally tied to the ups and downs of what's going on in Chicago or New York.
But I think the key to that whole discussion, that to get boring, you have to go through some difficult calculations and some difficult accounting. And I don't mean difficult in that it's fancy. I just mean difficult that you actually have to do it.
You have to do it. Yeah. There's a guy that I knew, his name's Joel, he put together a really nice, technology package. And his concept was, it's like the shoebox of receipts that farmers show up with at the end of the year. And it's, Thanksgiving, and they're like, oh, I better see how much money I made. And they show up to the accountant with a shoebox full of receipts, and they just throw on that poor guy's desk and say, get to it and let me know if I need to spend any money by the end of the year. That's a situation that's very avoidable, because if you just added a little bit of organization to the shoebox, you'd learn a lot about the habits of production. You'd learn a lot about your overall financial well-being, and you'd sleep a lot better at night knowing where it's all at. I mean, so you have to have an interest in organizing the shoebox. Is it complicated? I think if folks wanted to make it uncomplicated, they could be surprised how simple that business could be. There's biology, there's rain, there's Mother Nature, there's all these other things that go on. Yes, I understand. But those are things that are out of your control. You can control how organized that shoebox is, right? Yes. I mean, there's certain things, and if you are on farm and you're looking at the number of independent variables and the number of dependent variables, and you start just locking up as many of those as you possibly can, right? So that's when you get into, risk mitigation, to where you take no risk. Well, then there's no reward.
Yeah.
If you're out there blindly taking risks that you don't know you're taking, that's actually way worse.
Well, I put a tweet yesterday after getting done with some work in QuickBooks, asking, QuickBooks has done their subscription thing, and it's bullshit, but it's what it is. And I posted, am I the only one? And people said, no, you're not. But as we're talking, I know I've got friends that have no clue what QuickBooks is. Or right. Quicken. And they farm a lot more than I do.
And you spend how many minutes a day in QuickBooks?
It's you're right. If you do it every day or once a week, it's minutes. Yeah. It's not a shoebox of oh shit.
Yeah, and it's minutes, right? And that's how you have to start looking at the problem. This is where you can look at it in minutes, and then if it's organized to start with, but then you have to have a discipline around spending a few minutes a day with it. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then if you let it go on Tuesday, well, then that lack of discipline bleeds into Wednesday.
Yeah.
Then that lack of discipline bleeds into Thursday. Then Friday afternoon comes up. Beer 30.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be anywhere. You want to be in Arizona. You want to be at the lake. You want to be wherever you want to be, but you don't want to be sitting there in front of QuickBooks. But if you don't let your kids have ice cream before they clean their plate, right? Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't you just sit there and be like, boat doesn't turn on until QuickBooks is updated for the week? Something stupid like that. And that's some kindergarten bullshit right there.
Oh yeah.
If you did that to yourself, I think people learn so much about their operations. And then if they have to report it monthly too. See, that's the other thing too. I have to put together monthly P&Ls for this. Right? We're a publicly traded company, right? So there's reasons for that. But I got to look at this every month. You have to tell somebody every month about how things are going. You know what you stop doing? You stop lying to yourself about money.
Mm-hmm.
Stop lying to other people stop lying to you about money. So this is, my son's 13. This is what I'm trying to just make money boring. You might be surprised how much of it you can come up with.
Yeah.
It's 13, so you don't know. But it's just kind of one of those things. That's why we're like, okay, go to Subway. I'm gonna Venmo you, $15 to go to Subway, but I want the money back. And we're going to talk about that transaction in the pickup.
Mm-hmm.
God, why do we got to do this? That way, I'm always square with you, and I know you're always square with me.
There you go. The discussion on costs and profit is one that we as an industry don't have, at least on the crop side. And one of the things that I see recently is with some of the people that are pushing towards a small farmer, they say, we need to get back in your part of the world where somebody can make money on 50 cows, I'm like, hey, that's a great idea. How much money do you need to live on? $50,000. All right. That means you need to clear $1,000 a cow. How can you clear $1,000 a cow pulling tits with $15 commodity milk? The answer is you're not. I think that's an illustration of the fairy tales we tell ourselves around a lot of this commodity stuff. If only X would happen, life would be so much greater, when we can make life just good if we just know what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and then let's see how much of that $15. Now, I'm not a dairy guy. Like most people have forgotten more about dairy than I'll ever know. You know, and that's the other thing too about commodities traders. Nobody knows everything. So stop. And just like going to the doctor and, you know, expecting them to know everything from, you know, warts to, you know, cardiac arrest. They just don't know. It's not possible to know everything. So like, so how much control does that 50 cow producer have over $15 milk?
Zip. If you're selling commodity milk.
You're selling commodity milk. Now, you're selling value. I mean, there's you know, running some type of value added creamery business, and you got something else. So then you're no longer a commodities producer. You're a marketing company.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a reason why all these quote unquote commodity companies want to become marketing companies. Way better margin. So I mean, those are all like I would love the idea, like if they could do that. But I think what they see though is, you know, let's use the beef industry, for example, right? They see a lot of people, oh man, look at all those cowboys down there in Kansas and Texas. Look how good they're doing. Look at all that money they're making. Look at all that. It's just like, well, are you sure that those people aren't, you know, pissing away oil money on a ranch so they can play cowboy?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any idea how many years we've seen people farm at a loss for those types of things? I mean, in that type of environment, you just can't compete with that person because they've got Chevron on their side.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the idea, but they've got they other people that supposedly have this wet dream that these people are trying to live on Instagram and Facebook. They've got something else going on. And or they're, you know, independently wealthy somewhere else, or they've inherited money, or they've got some other business tied to that business. Because making it in commodities, unfortunately, it's going to come down to the most efficient producer. That's just unfortunately where it's at. The most optimized producer. I'm going to put it optimized. I hate that word efficiency. Optimized. The optimized producer will ultimately win in the commodity marketplace. So, and unless you are that person, you're going to have a hard time competing.
But doesn't it still get back to knowing your costs?
Yeah, I mean that's everything. Yeah, I mean, be honest with yourself what your costs are, right? I mean, if you say you can live off $50,000 a year, how? Like that's, I mean, it used to sound like a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, but you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. You're not going out to eat. You're not, you know, $50,000 isn't that much in 2026.
No.
You know, and I mean, and to sit there and work, right? But I'm just saying to work 7 days a week, milk them cows 3 times a day.
Oh yeah. Well, I use 50,000 on 50 cows because the math is easy.
Yeah. But I mean, these are numbers. Like but you have to be honest with yourself with what the scale of these things are, right? And then your hobby becomes a freaking commercial enterprise before you know.
Oh yeah.
And then you've turned in something that you love to do to what you hate, right? So
yeah. Well, I think we also need to be honest as an industry, and I love your cowboy example. I dated a girl whose grandfather was a wildcatter and made a lot of money and bought pasture ground. And that's what started the ranch. But we need to be truthful in saying, hey, Ryan, you run 10,000 acres and you got 500 pairs. And you need to say, yeah, I don't have any land costs. That's how I can do this.
Yeah. I mean, there's land costs there. And if you accurately account for what the land costs actually are, pay yourself something for that. I mean, the number, again, it stops from being a hobby into like a major enterprise pretty quickly, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you got to treat it as such.
Yeah, I'm not paying myself $50 a unit a month. I'm charging $0. It's pretty good to make money on cows.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, so that's the thing is like nobody's real honest with their cost structure. I mean, they're not out there telling you what their real cost structure is. And then some of these people, are they really making it as big as what they are saying they are? Or are they living kind of an unsustainable lifestyle? And then kind of like the wildcatters.
Yeah.
The market tends to take care of those people.
As we talk about information, how do you think AI is going to improve or degrade our situation from a marketing standpoint?
So AI, we talked about this at Chris Barron's Ag Use Solutions Conference, and somebody asked that question, and I'm a little bit jaded on the AI thing because I already got taken out behind the woodshed on an investment in AI, but this was back in about 2014, 2015, 2016 when we didn't call it AI, we called it machine learning at the time. So I don't want to say I got a PhD in this shit, but I've gotten a beating from it before on the technology side, and on the investment side, both in time and treasure. And so what I will say is that everybody out here needs to behave as if it's coming for your job. And if you behave as if it's coming for your job and you're going to fight like hell to make sure it doesn't take your job, you're going to be fine. You're going to lay down and just let it run over you. Well, you're just the kind of person that's going to lay down and something else is going to run you over too. Or if you're going to stick your head in the sand and be like, I ain't going to trust that stuff, you also got to recognize that there was a time when the railroads first started picking up steam here in the United States, and there was a certain segment of old people that wouldn't, or not even old people, just people that wouldn't ride a train because going 25 to 35 miles an hour was going to push the brain into the back of your head, and that was going to, cause brain damage. And so those people were never going to ride on a train. And, look what happened to that class of people. So, the technology is going to come and it's going to change. And so when information and what is going to become available, there's a lot of stuff out there that's available already, right? I mean, and in trading, we've had algorithmic trading for a very long time. We've had people that have been using, computer-based if-then statements, to be executing transactions. And when you look at what the, Chicago Board of Trade corn contract, for example, it's probably 85 to 87% of it is coming from high-frequency traders already. And that's been that's been the math on that for, 15 years, I bet. Right? So AI is just making more people able to have that. I get these, people that try to pull me aside or something. What do you say we go and we pick up we put together some put together trading business and stuff. And then, StoneX will go ahead and buy it and we'll just make so much money. It's not even funny. It's like, yeah, there's hundreds of people that have already thought of that that are way ahead of us. Yeah. And so it's been around for a very long time. It's just now AI is developing the plan. And so access to information, everybody already has plenty of access to information. It's more about what they're doing with it, right? And if they're choosing to do nothing with it and to go ahead and trade on it, to trade on a weather forecast and stuff, to say that somebody sitting, in their basement in Eden Prairie, Minnesota is going to be able to have an edge. That's where I live. Have an edge over, Citadel. Sorry, it's good, but that's the class of elephants that you're running in. You're far better off if you're going to do 50 cow dairy, building a creamery and having yourself a really nice branded business where everybody likes to buy your stuff because you're raising really good stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the better business to be in than try to get rich algorithmically trading.
Well, I think as we were talking about this, every farmer experiences AI and how many billions of dollars are made every report day on AI. And you brought it up, the algorithm trading.
They've been doing that since in the beginning of time. I mean, it was there was back in the day, they used to, being in the pit, like when I started at FC Stone in 2003, like one of the things that we sold was that our order desk was closer to the corn pit. So we could be, oh yeah, Tony and Nate, they can run your trades in your pit faster. You trade through us versus, these guys over at Refco that they sit behind us. I mean, that was the type of bullshit that we traded, right? That we would not trade. We would, convince people to open accounts with us as opposed to them because that was our competitive advantage. Then it went to the fact that if you had a shorter internet cord between you and the Chicago Board of Trade, that you were going to be able to get stuff a tick faster. I mean, so to say that the average everyday person is going to be able to outguess that group of extremely sophisticated PhD level mathematicians, I mean, good luck to them. I mean, I'm not that guy. So, I mean, these are all things that the people that are hitting a headline, a headline number on a report. I mean, they're running it up and running them down, and people hate the funds right now because the funds have beat these markets up and they've kept them down for a while, but now the funds are getting back to, even money. The speculators are actually propping prices up higher than what they should with the 17 billion bushel corn crop. Well, when are we going to ever, if the market rallies and the funds drive that thing higher, are we going to see farmers, running around with open arms looking for a fund trader to hug? I mean, are they going to be out there doing this? No. Then it's going to be how brilliant their fucking marketing strategy was of holding on to 500,000 bushels of corn for over a year, right? I mean, so it's just, these are all things that I really struggle with. Mm-hmm. And it's because if you just have no emotional attachment to what the report is going to say, trust me, that's a much better way to run a business than, having hope be a part of your marketing plan.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Hope is not a marketing plan, but we use it every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we look for confirmation bias on it.
Right. And that's, and that only gets you in worse trouble. That either gets you in worse trouble or more upset because you never prove yourself double right.
Yes. Yeah. Is a double positive a negative?
Yeah. Two wrongs do make a right here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Ryan, this has been a fun conversation to get to chat with you.
I don't know if we solved any problems or anything, but I just,
of course not.
When we're just talking about these things, it's just like, if you just run your business like it was a business, and then when it comes to grain marketing, commodity marketing, in anything, and if you want to get closer to thinking like those really smart people, the really smart people on Wall Street, they're not called stock pickers anymore. That person is just a salesperson that happens to have a green sweater, round glasses and a terrible haircut. The people that actually do well out there are portfolio managers. And when you look at the great commodities traders and when you look at the great businesses out there, they are a portfolio manager. They're out there running a series of different strategies with a series of different products, and they're collecting a large set of base hits over an extended period of time. And at the end of the year, those are the people that come out ahead. The folks that try to hit home runs strike out more than they hit home runs, but the people that have, longevity on their side, they look at the market from a portfolio management strategy. So if the farmer says, well, all I do is raise corn. I'm just continuous corn. I got 2,000 acres of corn. That's all I do. Well, if you had 12 different strategies as opposed to one, you're acting more like a portfolio manager than you are a market picker. Mm-hmm. And anybody that says they are great at picking markets is just not being truthful with you.
No.
So it's the portfolio managers that collect a large collection of base hits over an extended period of time will likely have a better likelihood of success than the home run hitter or the strikeout. Now, if you have a home run, great. But, I don't know. Do you do casinos? Are you a casino guy at all?
I'll do pennies and dimes.
Okay. Well, so yeah, if you've ever hit at a slot machine, right? Let's say you pull $500 out of a slot machine, then out of a, nickel slot machine. Is that even possible?
I don't know.
But yeah, if you pull $500 out of there, what's the best thing you can do?
Walk away.
Go home.
Yes.
So if you hit a home run, go home. Say thanks.
Yeah.
Just don't work the rest of the year to piss it away.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Ryan, we end every podcast the same 5 questions, and it's interesting to see the commonality and the way they change. So we'll jump right into them. What is one lesson from ag you carry with you every day?
One lesson from ag I carry with me every day. Yeah, the most successful people I know are also optimistic. And that's a really hard one for me because I am like a natural pessimist. And then I also tell people that I'm just pragmatic. My blood sugar's just low. So no, the most successful people in this industry that I know are good with time. They're optimistic and great with time. So that's probably the best takeaway.
That's a really good one.
They're quite rich, and so we should follow what they do. They're better off than I am. Yeah. So,
if you could have coffee with one historical figure in agriculture, who would it be?
Dennis Gartman.
Okay.
He wrote a newsletter for the longest time called the Gartman Letter, and he would just be a fantastic person to just sit there and talk markets with. And he retired in 2019.
Okay.
He just left. Yeah. Dennis Gartman.
Dennis Gartman. Guarantee you're the only one that's ever said that one. What is one quirky or unappreciated thing about agriculture that more people should know?
That there's a difference in product. I'll just go ahead and say that. I'll go ahead and say this when I smoke ribs, I smoke Compart ribs, because I know the Compart family, they're great people. Mm-hmm. It's a great story. And when we're sitting there eating Compart ribs, yes, they just taste better because they're these competition, Mm-hmm. But the fact that I've got this story, I know these people, and we can go ahead and talk, it just makes that whole experience around food that much better. There's some extremely high quality people out here producing this stuff. Those that are going to do that, direct to consumer business, that it's more than just taste, because there's a great story to go along with great taste. That that makes dinner just that much better.
Mm-hmm. We're raising commodities, but it's all not a commodity.
No, it doesn't have to be. And other people can compete in the commodities business, and they compete in the commodities business too. There's so many good things going on there. And then when I pull those ribs off my smoker, everybody in the suburbs of Minneapolis just thinks I'm some grand national champion smoker. No, I'm not. I'm not at all. You start with good meat, and you get a lot of people that care along the way. Mm-hmm. And that makes for a much better meal than just, pulling some stuff from a fast food restaurant.
Oh, definitely. What is your favorite ag-related tool, product, or innovation?
So ag-related? Okay, so this is going to be a stretch, and this is going to be making fun of some people. And so if I hurt some feelings, I guess I don't care. The ice house. For that farmer that needs a dryer shack, and they go out and buy a $30,000 ice castle so they can sit out in the fall and monitor their dryer, but then happen to put that thing up on Lake of the Woods in the winter and then write it off on their taxes. So yeah, that would be my favorite ag product, would be the tax write-off ice house.
There have been multiple ice houses and pull-behind campers that are dryer sheds.
Dryer sheds. Yeah. Yep. According to the U.S. government, I need this So we don't have a corn dryer back home, so I don't have one of these, but I'm just saying someday, that is what I think the most fun farming implement would be.
Ice house. I love that. And that's pure Minnesotan right there. That is great.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if we could just
we could use it in Iowa too.
Yeah,
so, but
and if we could just figure out how to write off curling rocks, 179 them, that'd be cool.
I mean, just give a creative accountant just an hour to noodle on that, and I bet you'd have an answer.
Yeah. Mental health expenses.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then the last question, Ryan, what is one small change that could make a big impact in ag's future?
People need to take better care of themselves. Wake up in the morning and stretch and exercise. If they did that, I mean, if you look at just, I went through these fancy diets and went through all these different food elimination things because I was having some gut health issues and just, just stuff wasn't working out, and then, get on this diet and do all this other stuff and these cleanses and all this shit they do here in the suburbs and all this, and got done with all of it. I'm just like, this is everything that they're asking me to do is what my grandfather did on his farm in Bird Island, Minnesota. And he got up every day and he was healthy till he was 98 years old. He didn't eat any ultra processed food because he raised his own. He got up every morning and did chores, which is, basically the same thing as getting up every morning and doing a little bit of a workout. Yeah. Got warmed up, came in, then he was just had light, moderate levels of activity all the time. He didn't sit in front of the TV and get mad at the government. He got out and he got moving, right? Yeah. So this is like if you just got up and took care of yourself, kind of like your grandpa did, then he bowled at night, drank Windsor and stuff like that. But that was, for just overall physical and mental health, if people took just better care of themselves and just kind of got up and behaved like the grandpas did, where they got up and got a little bit of exercise, stretched out, didn't eat just a bunch of shit from a convenience store for food. They'd all feel better. And once you feel better, then it's amazing how much other stuff just kind of starts taking care of itself.
Yeah. And that goes back to your discipline. We don't have chores, but get up and stretch every morning. For me, I do it every night before I go to bed. So. Yep.
And so you activate your body. And if you do that, and see, then once you're healthy, a lot of the other stuff you don't really worry about. But if you're not healthy, then the only thing you can worry about is being healthy again. And then all this other stuff life still just piles up behind you.
Yeah.
So if they just take care of, if people just okay, I can't control what the corn market did today. But you know what? I can't control whether or not I got up and did 100 sit-ups.
Yeah.
And start small.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Take better care of yourself. That's a great message.
Yeah.
Ryan, this has been a great conversation.
I appreciate the invitation. This is fun. Like I never expected to get an invitation. Then I got one to come. I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, for sure.
Well, we talked about something serious, but it wasn't as serious as you when you're talking about the markets every morning with Joe Vacklin.
Yeah.
Right?
These things are a bit like this. This is just what I do. Right. Yeah. And so, you love to do it when you do it in your spare time. So this weekend, what am I doing? I'm sitting there reading ag news wires, right? What do farmers do? You love to farm when you sit there and you go home at night and watch YouTube videos about tractors. Right?
Exactly.
So, if you love it, just keep doing it.
Totally. Well, thank you, Ryan. And we didn't have Damien to interrupt us, so that was great. Just think about how long we'd be here 2 hours from now. Oh yeah, and still have half the answers if we didn't.
It's a great time. This business of ag success group, I got to be honest with you, it's been one of the most fun. It's been one of the most fun, engaging, entertaining, and educational aspects. It's every other week. It's an hour, and it's something I make time for all the time. And it's been a lot. Like you get together with smart people and you surround yourself with 5 pretty sharp people. All of a sudden you have to start up in your game and you have to get pretty sharp yourself.
Yes.
And that's what's been that business of ag success group. That's what that's done for me. And I appreciate the fact that it's really made me up my game.
Yeah. And we've got some pretty strong minds.
It's a really unique collection of people. So
that's a perfect way to put it. They'll piss you off at one moment, and the next time you'll be like, that's cool.
I know, but you'll be laughing your ass off with them. It's just like, man, let's just go get a beer, and everything's fine. And it always is.
It always is. Well, thank you, Ryan. And to my listeners, here's another conversation that led to places we never expected.
Thank you.